Record now. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the afternoon's webinar. Today, we're talking about Land App Mobile. Some of you may be familiar with it already, but I'm hoping today you'll get a sense of the updates that we've been making over the last 12 months or so. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. This is a webinar, so your camera will remain off and your microphone will be muted, but you can ask questions at any time. So the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen is enabled where you should be able to ask questions. And we've got a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If there's time, feel free to stay around at the end. We like to have a bit of a conversation with people and we can bring you off mute if you've got any particular questions. It is being recorded, so feel free to watch the recording back. There might be some elements that I move quickly, but I'll try and keep a good pace, but it'll be on our YouTube channel, which we'll flag as well in the follow-up email. And as usual, we've got just some very simple questions once you leave the webinar, just to give us feedback about both what we've talked about, but also the future direction of these webinar series. So fairly simple agenda today, lots to cover, but hopefully not too much. Just going to give you a bit of a kind of an update and a welcome, highlighting just some of the upcoming webinars we've got, but also any product updates that you may have missed. The product team have been very busy over the last few months and even years getting things sorted, and there's definitely some things to update you on. Then we're going to spend a majority of the time doing a live demo, which hopefully all goes to plan. It's going to be the first time I've demoed live the new website, the new Land App Mobile updates. So bear with me, but hopefully it all goes to plan. And of course, there's a time for that Q&A that I mentioned before. So previous webinars, we've got lots of great resources on our YouTube channel. So if you just search Land App on YouTube, you should be able to find it. We've got some playlists about introductory training, but also all the previous webinars we've ran, including roundtables, introductory training, other mobile demos, etc. are all there. So I'd recommend going there if you've got any burning questions that you want answering. We've got an upcoming webinar towards the end of May, so on the 22nd, the Thursday, I believe the Friday is a bank holiday, where we're just talking about data-powered decisions. It's going to be less of a demo, it's more of a round table, and delighted we've got Glenn Anderson from Wendling Beck and Swallowtail, as well as a Ordnance Survey staff member called Sophia, who's coming to join us as well. We're really going to look at how data is helping people make real-world outcomes. So hopefully having both that opinion and thoughts from the data creators, but also from those using it at the end use. And of course, as always, for those webinars, there is a Q&A with the panel. Quickly on the product updates then, so we've got released some more data layers. So there's lots of new data layers constantly coming through as more people release them, and we're trying to keep on top of them, but just 3 ones that I wanted to highlight. Registered of Scotland, if any of those Scottish users out there, has been constantly updating their scope. So we've just done a refresh of the registers, and I think the coverage is nearing 50% now. It's not full coverage, but it's definitely made a lot of progress since we first got it onto the software, and we're now moving to that live feed anyway, so you should see it as the Register of Scotland increases, the amount of data available there increasing. We've released the local authority districts, so in the administrative category you can start to see the boundaries of the local authorities, and then finally just the utilities layer. We've introduced solar panels and solar farms, so you can start to see the boundaries of existing solar parks that are popping up around the country. The other thing to highlight that on our website now, if you go to landapp.com/data layers, you can find a kind of a little search engine. So before you go into Landapp, you can come and search which data layers we have, what their source is, etc., etc. So a slightly more interactive way of seeing what data we host without having to log on and open up a map. One of the most popular requested features has finally been released. We've got the ability to drag to select. So particularly those working on like medium to larger estates, you can now, select particular features by using your cursor and dragging it. It just chooses them at the plan level, so it won't interact with different layers, but hopefully the GIF on the screen shows you the main elements of that. But that also works for selecting, which means you can allocate features to a particular crop type or multi-style things based on location. other product updates that I've just cherry picked from our product update section that's on our website. You now officially can delete maps and plans. Before, we only allowed people to archive them, but we are now looking to give people a bit more control over their data, and they can delete it, which is great. And it also saves us on server costs. We've released some more tools into the toolbox, so do go on our help center to find out a bit more about these. But we've now released a vegetation data download, which is, I think, only for England at the moment, although it might work in Scotland and Wales. Need to double check, might be on the guidance. But that allows you to download polygon features for any trees or hedges that are over 2 meters or 2.5 meters in height. So you can start to get quite detailed breakdown of two-dimensional vegetation areas. And also just to help people with data hygiene, so keeping your maps clean, we've released the small gap and the overlap finder as well. And then finally, for any professional subscribers out there, the Countryside Stewardship higher tier 2025 is now available in the portfolio view. If you don't know what that means and are interested, that's another thing we cover on our YouTube channel. Okay, so there are the product updates, I believe. And now on to, I guess, the main event. Bit of an update from Land App Mobile. So we have been kind of in business since 2017. And every year, Land App Mobile has always been requested. When are we going to be fully integrated to take my maps out into the field? Last year, we released the first version of it, which is very much an evidencing tool and for you to create kind of basic measurements. But as of last month, we have now released a fully integrated tool that works on your Android or Apple devices. And what this tool, Land App Mobile, does, it allows you to now take any plan anywhere. So you can take your basic payment schemes, your agroforestry designs, your UK hab maps out into the field and edit, update, and maintain that data all within your mobile phone. It works anywhere because we've got a offline mode. So all of your maps and all of your plans can now be downloaded offline. So you do not need Signal to be able to edit your maps. And just a reminder, your mobile signal is slightly different to your GPS signal. So your GPS signal, even out in the, I guess the wider countryside, you still should be able to find GPS, which is your location, but perhaps not having mobile signal. So this kind of helps that mobile signal black spots be able to use the tool as well. And then the final thing is just to note is that we've also, as part of this release, released a very sophisticated collaboration function. So we now allow feature level conflict resolution, which means multiple people can be editing multiple people could be editing the same map at the same time, even in offline mode. And when you come back online, the collaboration function should enable either a seamless integration, i.e. there's no conflicts, or it will guide you through conflict resolution as well. So do have a play, let us know. But yeah, we've built it with collaboration in mind. I'm hopefully going to be demoing some of that in a moment. Okay, so I'm just going to share my other screen and going to do a bit of a live demo. Just a reminder, the Q&A function is open. So if there's any questions you want me to cover later, please do. But I'm hoping if I share this, you should be able to see my Land App map, Land App homepage, sorry. And I'm just going to do one more thing, which is get my little list of demo things. Okay, so the first thing to say, and just a reminder, Land App Mobile works off the back of a desktop account. So you do need to register on Land App and have a standard subscription to access what I'm just about to show you. So you need to come to the landapp.com, create an account, and create a new map before you can start creating data on Land App Mobile. So I'm just going to create Land App demo May 2025. I'm going to create an empty map. Also, I can see that just a minute ago, I created a test one here, which I'm just going to rename as old. Practicing. Okay, so I'm basically creating an empty map here, which shows my empty map at the moment, always centered on Birmingham. So for the demo, and I'm going to try do a split screen, I'm going to basically open up on the side my iPhone. So let's see if this works. Screen mirroring is locked. I've now got access to my phone, which is perfect. And I'm basically going to open up Land App. So you can download, if you haven't got it already, you can go to the App Store now, wherever your phone is, and just type in Land App. You should be able to download it. Once you've downloaded it, you can open it up as per the left-hand side. So, giving you a bit of an orientation, when you first log on, what you get access to is kind of your home page. You can search keywords such as 2025 will load up the map that I've just created, this Land App demo. But you also have different ways for searching maps, such as you can search for your different team tags. So if you've got a particular team, you can search for that. You can also look at maps that have been shared with you and kind of see any data that's been created by collaborators. Or you can look at it in a slightly different view, which is changing between the list and the image as well. So lots of different ways to search for your map. But for now, I'm just going to search 2025 and load up this map that I've got on the right-hand side, which is my demo. What you'll notice when you first log into Land App, you're always dropped in your location. So that location is where I am at the moment. And later during the demo, I'm going to move over to this kind of field area, which is actually the Bristol Downs, to try and demonstrate some of the elements. I'm not going to be taking a walk, although I would like to, since the weather is so nice out there. So a couple of key things just to show you. We've got search functions, so you can search for a location. We accept postcodes, coordinates, and what 3 words addresses. So search your location, and that should obviously center you in the right place. We host different base maps. So we host satellite, terrain, and road. So just to show you those different, you can kind of toggle between those. And these are Google Maps on the iPhone and your Android. So the Land App Mobile uses the Google package. And the main reason for that is we are looking to go international. And you'll notice if you zoom out on your Land App Mobile, you can start mapping wherever you would like to be in the globe. So that's why we've tied it to Google rather than some of the base maps we've got in Land App at the moment. But for the demo today, I'm going to stay on satellite. What I want to talk you through is just firstly, how you can start mapping straight on Land App Mobile. So the only thing I've had to do on the right-hand side on the web app is to create the map. I could now go to the field and start creating certain plans, and we call those plans surveys. You can access them by hitting the yellow dot, and you can click Start Survey. And at the moment, we've got 3 different mobile surveys that you can start from scratch. So you can see in my web app, I've not got any plans that I've created, but I can create a general data collection. General data collection is a very broad template that allows you to do things like farm infrastructure, soil risk mapping, allocating conservation areas, etc. So that's definitely a good one to have a play around with, and it allows you to draw all sorts of shapes. In partnership with the People's Trust for Endangered Species, we released the Healthy Hedgerow Survey. So you can start a Healthy Hedgerow Survey from scratch and start drawing your hedgerows in if you like. Or recently, a new template, we've also released a soil survey. And this soil survey we've built in partnership with the Farm Carbon Toolkit as a way of aggregating and collecting field samples. And I'm going to demo that right now. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on soil survey, and I've got the little halo. I can then give it a name, soil sampling May 2025, and hit start survey. So by hitting start survey, what I've done is I've now created a sample in the Land App. And you can see, because I'm online, on my desktop, my thing on the right side, my now plan has been created in this map. I can go to the draw button to drop a point, for example, either by dropping a point where I'd like it to go. So let's just add a point here for now. Or if I go back and hit redraw down at the bottom, I can actually get to my location. So instead of doing it where I want it on the field, I can hit the location, which drops a pin or centralizes your GPS and where you are. But for now, I'm going to actually go back to that field and just drop a random point over here. That point. So the soil sample, just to show you, is a template. So we guide you through the different attributes that you need on the map. So for example, I hit assign feature type here. And in the soil sample, I have a choice between 2 different types of sample, either an in-field sample or a lab sample. Where possible, we're trying to provide you with the kind of little tooltip, a bit of guidance, explaining what the difference is. So I'll let you read those through, but just to demonstrate, I'm going to do an in-field sample. So imagine I've gone out there with my my spade to try and do a little pit, and I can now start filling in the form for my in-field sample. what you'll notice on the right-hand side is as I start editing this plan, if I'm online, we limit the editing on the online version on the desktop. So if two people are both online editing, we then restrict one of them to ensure that the online editing happens. When offline, multiple people could be editing at the same time, and then when we go to sync, we make that that seamless collaboration enable. So offline mode and online mode work in slightly different ways, but they both achieve the same outcome. So this could be sample one. I'm not going to give it a description. Visual evaluation of soil structure, or a VES score. If I'm unsure what that means, I can hit the question mark and then get a breakdown of what the VES score is. And then I can kind of pick from a drop-down list by clicking the icon and choosing my different options. So again, the bottom structure, compact, number of worms, can give it a number, etc., etc. So all these different survey points you can fill in. I don't think in the soil sample, many of them are mandatory. So there's some that you can leave blank. So let's just assume I'm not doing 120-minute stability yet because I'm still in the field. And what I've done now is I've completed the form as much as I needed. I obviously can come back and edit it if I need, but what I've got is I've got a completed form. If I then drag down this column at the bottom, I've now got a single point showing my soil sample. So on the phone, I can click on that point and I can see sample one and all the information. On the map on the right-hand side, I need to wait 5 seconds just for the padlock to go. I give it a moment. There we are, padlock's gone, no editing's happening. I can then do things like zoom to that point, and I can now see that point that I've just created on my phone. So instant syncing, as soon as there's that mobile signal, it will sync, but if you're in offline mode, it will wait until you're on Wi-Fi before it will sync. So I can see that in here. One of the changes that we have made to the updates to LandApp Mobile is you now can edit those points in LandApp Desktop. So the previous release 6 months ago, you couldn't edit this, but I now in LandApp can edit my points through the desktop as well. So they're interchangeable, fully integrated, rather than being like a separate layer that you had to duplicate. And that comes down to as well as you can move the feature. So I can move the location of that point. So if I just put it on top of this tree, for example, I've moved the point on here, which means in the mobile, the point is moved because I'm online. So you can see that there's now that dynamism between the two layers. Okay, so just to take that kind of one step further, you can obviously, when you're drawing a line, you can locate yourself along the point. So you can keep dropping a point along a fence, for example, and just keep locating yourself and dropping a new point. And that means you can trace your walking, for example, along a fence or a wall or a hedgerow. So the other fun thing, just to show you, is so that's creating a survey. You can do that with the hedgerow, the general collection, etc. However, to get most out of LandApp Mobile, what I would recommend is just spending 5 minutes before you go on your survey to kind of prime your map. So you can prime your map on the desktop to then make sure that when you're in the field, you've already got shapes or attributes or reference layers that you can look at. So one example, and I'm just going to go full screen for a moment. One example is I've got on my LandApp desktop, I've got data layers. And I know, for example, the Avon Gorge, which is just here, is a triple SI, which looks like this. If I want to have the boundary of the triple SI on my mobile, I can just come and take the vector shape, the outline of that triple SI by right-clicking on it, copy it to a plan, create a new plan. And so I'm just going to leave it on a blank template for now, for example, and create a new layer. And so what I've done is I've just created a red line boundary on my LandApp desktop that I can assign to, say, a conservation area. So it's nice and yellow. Okay. I then go back to LandApp Mobile, and hopefully, if I open up my map and look at the menu, I can see now I've got 2 plans on device, and I've got my triple SI layer. So I can now see on LandApp Mobile the boundary of my triple SI. So a bit of prep means that when I'm walking around, look at them downs later, I can see where the actual authoritative data from the triple SI starts and ends. And all of that information, if I click on it, I should be able to see a bit more about that particular thing. So the triple SI name, the designated site, and the reference, etc. So a URL. So just doing a little bit of prep allows you to take quite detailed data onto the mobile. Just going to take that one step further, just to illustrate the point. Let's just, for argument's sake, say I'm a surveyor and I'm looking to go and survey some of this area, and I'm going to purchase my OS master map. So I'm going to go and download some data. I'm going to download my OS master map from this layer. I don't have a plan to choose from, but I'm going to choose a boundary. I just want to get some buildings. Let's just do this bit just for a bit of fun. And I'm going to call this demo and download. So it's going to cost me £32 to purchase this bit of OS master map. I'm then going to wait for my 10 seconds of data to be purchased, which hopefully will give me enough time to have some water. And refresh. And I'm hopeful, he says, that my master map will come through. Give it one more moment. So if it comes through. Apologies. There we go. So I've now got my OS master map. So I've purchased from the desktop some buildings, and you can see that in here I've got the building size, the number, the area, etc. So I can see that on my desktop. But if I were to then go back to my Land app mobile, which is here, go back to my plan, my map, hopefully now on this, he says, might need a refresh. Let's test that. Yeah, I've got 4 plans on the device, and of which OS master map labels and area are there. So I could download for offline use my OS master map. And now on the left-hand side, I've got my OS master map that I can take out into the field. And so that could be ready for surveying. That could be, doing whatever it might need. I might want to do, checking boundaries, clicking on buildings, looking at square footage of buildings, for example. I'm really getting a bit more understanding of that location based against OS master map. Okay, so that's kind of the principle of moving data from your Land app map, which is on the right-hand side, to the Land app mobile on the left-hand side. Okay. The next thing I wanted to show then, which is a slightly more, I guess, a farming-focused use case, but could be used, for example, for your ground truthing of a UK hab map, is I'm going to create a new data download. I'm going to request from the Rural Payments Agency my SBI number, and I'm going to complete a basic payment scheme application. I know basic payment is phasing out, but the principle is quite common that people understand that context. What I'm going to do is go hit new, import data, import from Rural Payments Agency, and download my SBI number. Hopefully that workflow you're all familiar with. If not, loads of guidance on our help center. And then just for demonstration purposes, going to bring it to my basic payment scheme and hit finish. And hopefully with the RPA's help, I've now downloaded this farm's basic payment scheme. So you can see that I've got permanent grassland here, I've got an unassigned field here, etc., etc. This is a perfect time for us to now put the wellies on and go for a walk around this farm. And what I'm going to do is load up this basic payment scheme on my Land app mobile. So I'm going to go back to the plans, 3 on device, and I'm going to find that land covers map and download it. I'm then going to click on it, and you'll see now on the right-hand side, I've got my Land app map. I can't go offline because I'm on a Zoom, but if I were to go offline, any edits I was making, you wouldn't be able to see them until I return back online. So that's probably the only thing I can't quite demo today. So apologies, but do have a play. But for example, I can click on this field, I can assign the feature type, and I can go down and find the type of code I'm looking for. So I know this, for example, this year is in temporary grass. I change the temporary grass on the mobile, I can then see that field is updated on temporary grass. The other thing I might want to do is I'm in the field, I want to split it off, i.e. there's part of the field that's in temporary grass and the other half is going into, I don't know, a permanent grass or a legume-rich sward. I can click this split icon at the top bottom left. And apologies, do let me know in the chat if the location of this phone is annoying, by the way, or do shout if there's any questions around the location of the phone through the chat. But I'm going to stick with it here for now. I'm going to click the split button, and so that split icon at the bottom, exactly like Land app desktop, this allows you to split your polygons into 2. So for example, I want to take off this top corner, I can hit add point, I can hit add point in the middle, and I can hit another add point at the end, and then hit done. And what that does is that has now split my polygon into two. So I've got this polygon at the bottom and at the top, which means they're now being treated as separate features. I can then rename that top one, I don't know, just for demonstration, to turn it into a cover crop, which then updates the code, updates the styling, and is represented on the map. What this has identified, actually, and this is something that we were going to come on to, is that there are certain styling on LandApp desktop that we just can't get on LandApp mobile yet. So when there's complex like hashing, we're unable to get that at the moment on LandApp mobile. We are working on it. You can see that cover crop's been allocated, but at the moment it's white on LandApp desktop, LandApp mobile, but on the desktop version, you can see it's got that like quite complex brown hashing on a white background. So that's probably one of the limitations just to be aware of. But the updating has happened. So you can see the updates change, and that's in real time. And as much color matching as possible has happened. Okay. So that's kind of editing features. On top of this, you can draw new features. So if I wanted to draw, say, a new hedgerow or a fencing, I can hit the line and draw. Obviously, if I were at this farm, I could go and walk to the location and locate myself and then keep locating myself. But I'm just going to, for illustrative purposes, draw a point there. Imagine I've walked along the field, add another point there, etc., etc. So hopefully that allows you to both draw features in the field and you can walk to their location to draw that shape. Always hit done once you're complete, and then you can assign that feature to whatever feature you want it to be. So let's just call it a half hedge. See, and you can see in real time that hedge being updated in LandApp. So that's covering the kind of the drawing tools. Just a reminder, we can split lines as well. So I've drawn that one line. I can split that line in two by adding points either side of that line and hitting done. And now I've got two lines of which I can either delete one. Do I want to delete that? Yes. And now I've only got half a hedge. So there's lots of different ways that you can interact with your geospatial data. We're not finished developing it, so any feedback, of course, would be welcome, but we think it's in a really good place now for you to start playing around with it and really making a stab at your plans, but taking them to the field. Two more features I want to show before coming on to the Q&A. The first one is photos. So photos are probably the most commonly used feature, but we all just don't know it. People spend days taking photos of their holiday and building up memories. And one thing that we know is coming, particularly with the changing grant schemes, is we need more evidence. We need evidence that things are happening on the ground. We need evidence that things are changing. And as the different grant schemes develop and evolve, the more evidence we can build about farms and biodiversity, net gain sites, etc., the better. And so what you can do on LandApp Mobile, and I'm going to locate myself first, is you can actually take a photo. Annoyingly, I tested this earlier by hitting press and take photo. Because of the app I'm using to mirror, it doesn't let me take control of my phone. So you have to trust me. When I click take photo, I can see basically a view of my camera through my phone. But just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to take a quick photo of my garden now, just so you can get a sense of what I'm looking at, and hit done. And now hopefully the photo, if I hit reconnect, let's see if this works. This is the Blue Peter thing. There we are. I've just taken a photo, located myself, and now you've got a sense of what I'm looking at. So that's my view out the window. So you can take photos from your phone in real time, upload them, add descriptions, add names, link them to particular plans. So it might be that you're evidencing a particular scheme, take a photo and link it to the stewardship or whatever you might be evidencing at the time. And like in real time while you're walking around, make those changes. So I'm just going to add a description called garden photo, for example. You can also upload photos from your photo library. So just to show you where that button is. If you hit the plus button, you can hit the upload photo and that just goes into your library and you can upload photos. Just be conscious that you have to have your phone setting has to have GPS phone enabled. And my general understanding is, although please don't quote me on this, is if you're using iPhone, an Apple phone, by default, the GPS is on usually. But if you're using an Android, the GPS is off. So just make sure, go and have a play, take a photo and try and upload it. If it says there's no geography, just you need to check your settings. And I think we've got a help guidance to support with that as well. Okay. So that was the first thing to show is the photos. And then the final one before I'm coming to the Q&A, and I can see that there are questions coming through. We're really keen for feedback. And so what we've built is if you go back to your home screen, if anything, if you get any ideas or you've got any questions, if you go back to the home screen and open up this far left menu, there's a couple of things in here. You can click on your profile and you can update your password and change your settings, your sector and stuff. But also in here, you've got this send feedback button. And what this send feedback does is a live direct line to our internal channel. So we pick up any ad hoc questions or any bug fixing or suggestions. So feel free to type in here, you know, whatever it might be. Hello, team on a webinar, smiley face. And what that will do is that will send a notification to our internal channel. You would have noticed that in that button, particularly if you've got an issue, say something's not syncing or it's not behaving how you want, if you include the device logs, that really helps our development team understand the issue a lot quicker, and we can resolve it a lot quicker as well. So please obviously don't spam this feedback, but it's a really great resource now that we've opened up for direct feedback, but also a very seamless way of sharing those logs to make sure that we can understand the issue in good time. Okay, I think I've covered everything I wanted to. I can see there's questions coming through, so definitely keen to hear from you if you want to use the Q&A, but I'm going to start making my way through. Yeah, a couple of these questions look like they've already been answered, but I'm just going to say them out loud just so people saw them. So a question from Andrew was, if a plan with the UK Hub template was already created in desktop, are all the fields still available? Yes, Andrew, everything is still there. And actually, I might just quickly demonstrate that just one more level in very basic terms. If I had a baseline habitat assessment for this one field, for example, and let's just call it grassland, like so. On land app mobile, if I were to open up that grassland, where is it? Baseline habitat assessment, download that onto my phone, which looks like this. The UK Hab structure is all within this style. So I get access to the full list of UK Hab codes, so I can assign the different types of grassland. I can change it to a upland acidic, for example. And I get access to all the different features. So for example, I can select the secondary codes. So ponds, habitat essentials, biodiversity offset code, for example, and then hit done. That's my secondary code. And we've got this kind of thumbnail style. If I go into farming, don't know which of these, let's put a midfield bund just as a demo. You can see we've got this like chip design in the mobile app that's being updated as we speak in here as well. And then the final one is condition score as well. So I can update the condition score of that field in the while I'm at the field itself, and you can see that the fairly good condition has now come through onto the map. So yeah, really excited. Any ecologists out there, it's a really powerful tool, because then this ground truth habitat data can go through things like our biodiversity net gain toolkit. So I can run estimate biodiversity net gain right off that ground truth file to then start to get a better understanding of the potential of that field. So yeah, really good tool for ecologists, particularly if you're using UK Hab. Yeah, and then yeah, all of the polygons as well are editable. Okay, a question from Georgina. Please, can you talk us through the subscription tiers? I think Will has picked up a reply, but yeah, just to talk you through, we've got 3 subscription tiers, and actually just to put them on the screen, if you come into our website and you go to pricing, you can see them on the pricing page. Annual gives you 10% discount, but I'll just show you the monthly prices for now. So free is kind of our main tool for just basic use. So you can create basic maps, basic plans to start building maps ultimately, and obviously inviting collaborators at a view-only level. Everything I've been demoing today has been within our standard features. So you need to be on a £15 per user per month subscription to access what I've just been showing. But that gives you a whole range of tools. It gives you unlimited plans. It gives you unlimited maps. It allows you to go and use Land App Mobile. There's discounts on prints. You can invite editors to your map. You get access to consolidated billing and more data layers. So that's £15 per user per month. And then anyone who's interested in more, I guess, enterprise level use or more detailed use around biodiversity net gain, we have an additional subscription tier called Professional. And this allows us to provide more tooling, but also kind of bespoke features as well and training as part of that system as well. So for anyone who's, I don't know, working for a large land agency or ecology firm that's looking to integrate Land App with their systems, that Professional tier is really set up for you. Plus, if you do any biodiversity net gain type things, that Professional tier is for you as well. And yeah, just to show you the annual costs per month, it decreases by 10% if you commit to an annual subscription. So hopefully that, Georgina, that's covered it. But yeah, just to reiterate, everything I've shown today is in the standard tier, this middle one. So £15 per user per month. That monthly subscription is flexible, so it's rolling. So you can basically just have a subscription for the summer months, for example, or you can fluctuate if you wish. You don't have to sign into those longer term contracts if you don't want. A question from Matthew. I've been using Land App Mobile in earnest in the field for marking out boundaries for things like SFI plots. It's really useful. Is it possible to search for an individual parcel by sheet and parcel number in the app to help find them on the map when cross-referencing from a stewardship agreement? Very good question, Matthew. I don't believe that is possible at the moment. That's a very good question. Right, let's just test it together because this is it's always good to do a live test. So I know there are field IDs. So can I search field IDs? I don't think I can. If I were to click on the parcel itself, it will tell me the field ID. So the field ID is in there. You almost want to be able to search for an attribute. No, at the moment we can't, Matthew. That's a very good point. And if we can note that down, we will pass it on to the product team. But yeah, thank you for that question. Just going to make this slightly more visual. A question from Max: will we be able to view multiple layers at the same time on the mobile in the future? It's a good question. I really am not sure. At the moment, yeah, we're very much at this one plan at a time. So yeah, you load this plan or you go and load another plan. You can't load both. It's a good question. We can take that to the product team and let you know. The complexity behind what's happening here is taken us about 12 months of hard development to get here. So yeah, we shall see what we can do, but no promises. Oh yeah, Will has just made me a quick note. One thing we are exploring though, Max, along those lines is I obviously during the demo typed in the SSI, so I brought the SSI layer on. We are exploring whether the data layer library can be made available. So you choose a couple of, I guess, frames of data layers that you want to take out. So rather than having to copy them to a plan, you can just view them as a reference layer. That is on the roadmap, I believe, but the idea of seeing multiple plans at the same time, I don't know if it is. A question from John: are you using Google Maps on the mobile for international use? When will Google Maps be on desktop version? So yeah, two good points. So the first question is yes, we are using Google Maps on this version of the Land App Mobile. So we've got international use. So you can zoom around, and if I actually went to search, where should we go? Let's go to Morocco. He says he can't spell it. If I went to Morocco, you can see I've now loaded a map in Morocco, so I can start taking photos, drawing maps in Morocco. The second part of your question, though, John, which is around will Google come to Land App Desktop? Unlikely at the moment. Not to get too technical, but the main reason is that the Land App Desktop is built on a slightly different coordinate system. This is on GPS. This is on British National Grid. And that's simply because the desktop one allows us to pin it at a GB level to Ordnance Survey. So yeah, we've made a decision not at the moment. They're still following the same principle at the end use, just behind the scenes. There's a couple more complexities than just making Google available on this one as well. So yeah, not for the moment. Question from Lucy, is the process of creating geometry just center, place point, move, place point, move, place point? Obviously GPS you can walk around, or do you have the ability to create a line or polygon by free drawing as you would with a pen or paper? Good question. So I know the answer to your question is, so at the moment, Lucy, and I will show you in Morocco, because why not? We're over here, so let's do it. So let's just do a general data correct Morocco. And then I'm going to draw. At the moment, to draw an area, you're just, as you say, you're drawing maybe drawing an area doesn't work in. Okay, I'm maybe pushing my luck. Let's just do it in the UK for now. We've not launched international yet, but we are testing it. So maybe product Jack's going to provide us a bit more detail. Yeah, okay. In the UK, it's still working. Maybe that's the GPS thing. So yeah, just to show you, Lucy, you're drawing a point or walking to each point and tracking your location. You don't have the ability on your phone to use it like a trace pad yet. Although I know what you mean, because on the desktop, just to show you, if I were to do it on here, I can now hit draw area. And if I hold shift on my keyboard, I can actually use a trace pad. So if I hold shift on the keyboard, I can do complex shapes. So I think that's the type of drawing that you're referring to. It's not possible on LandApp Mobile yet. We'll feed it in. Unsure of the complexities. But yeah, if you're using desktop, you can do that at the moment, which is quite fun. Just a reminder, hold shift, and then you can use your mouse or your trackpad to draw fun shapes. Where are we? BR Longman, thank you for your message. How do my farm team access maps in my standard level account from their own devices? Can I limit access to view only so I don't accidentally change the maps? Very good question. Yes, really. Yeah, you can. So in your desktop, so this is my demo. At the moment, it's just myself in this map. So it's just Dan to add it. But I could add, for example, Will, who's my glamorous assistant behind the scenes, to my map. When I add him to the map, I can give him either read-only or editor permissions. When I give him read-only, so to answer your question, your staff, you could give them read-only. They then get the invite. They need to have a standard subscription, but when they come into this map, they won't be able to edit anything. So what they'll only be able to do is they'll be able to click on the shapes, they'll be able to measure things, but they won't be able to change the shape of anything. So yeah, that permission level does fall into LandApp Mobile as well. So you just want to add them as a collaborator, as a read-only. If you add them as an editor, they can do the editoring bits. Hopefully that's answered your question. Another question from Andrew. Do you have a timeline for releasing BNG or UK Hab survey forms? Andrew, it's a really good question. We've got a suite of tools in LandApp desktop for BNG, but that's more around the estimation and what we call the auto population. So you can now, if I go into here, you can see that there's an auto populator for there's an auto populator for the habitat codes to move into the biodiversity net gain metric. So where is it? In here. So yeah, auto populate BNG metric. I think what you're referring to is a more guided survey based on the BNG condition assessments. I know it's on the radar. I'm not entirely sure how far up the list it is. We've actually got a really exciting roadmap that isn't covering that particular thing at the moment. So I think probably a webinar is overdue about updating you guys on what our roadmap looks like. But Andrew, I will pass that over to the dev team just to see if it is on the horizon. But at the moment, as it stands, I don't think kind of that UK Hab survey form is, although need to double check. Charlotte, I'm testing this as we speak. Great. Thanks, Charlotte. Good to have you on the call. It's very useful. Thank you. I'm using a plan where I already have lots of photos in the farm. The photos are slowing down my ability to move around the farm and select parcels, edit attributes. Every time I move areas, it needs to load up the photo previews. Is there a way to turn off previews of photos? Charlotte, yes, there's a little button at the top of your screen. So let me just go out of my Morocco demo. So what Charlotte's saying is, here, if I go back to me, you can see I've got a little photo icon. Charlotte, if you just click the photo icon at the top, it hides the photos. So there's a little photo icon. So you can choose to have them as thumbnails, or you could choose to have them off. By default, it turns on as soon as you've taken a photo. But yeah, you can toggle it off. hopefully that's answered your question. But yeah, you can imagine if you've taken 600 photos, you've got them all on it, you can't do anything. So yeah, you can hide them by just clicking the little landscape icon at the top of your map. You need to be on that map setting. So another question from Andrew. If you're able to make data layers visible in mobile app, could you then save created objects as a reference data layer to use the same pathway to see layered data in a field? Yeah, potentially, Andrew. I think you're thinking on the right lines. I'm not entirely sure, but basically there's kind of two main places that we host data, just to explain very quickly, not to get too technical. But we've obviously got these tabs on the left-hand side. These are kind of what we call our plan templates, where I put that SSI layer. But you could create, say, a transect or a definite route that you're always walking that you can host in the plan. So that's something you can do. What you guys as end users can't do is you can't edit any of these data layers. So you can't edit at the moment, upload your own bespoke data layer, although that's something that's on the roadmap, like adding your own data layers in here to revisit the same site across multiple accounts. So hopefully that's answered your question. We are just working out what the best way of taking these shapes and making them visible on the map. Are they editable? Are they not? Are they customizable? Are they not? Will dictate whether they sit in this button or the left-hand side, agnostic of whether that's land app mobile or within the desktop. Hopefully, Andrew, that answered your question, but please let me know if not. Question from Lucy, just about creating geometry. Do neighboring polygons snap to each other with no overlap or slithers? Okay, good question, Lucy. So let me show you two things. So firstly, what's the best way around to do this? In Land App Mobile, I guess the straight answer to that question is not yet. So what I mean by that is if I were to, I'm going to go back on that Morocco plan. Just to demonstrate something. We're not actually in Morocco for this, I don't think, were we? No. So let me just draw a very crude map like this. Obviously, you guys would spend a little bit more time and make it neat, which represents one polygon. And then hit done. And let's just say this is, let's just call this a cropped area. And then let's draw another area that purposely makes an overlap, Lucy, that goes like this, right? So we've got two slightly messy polygons. In Land App Mobile, we are looking at ways to validate that. We don't currently validate this on the fly. So what I mean by that is if I hit done, those two polygons are overlapping, and I can assign this to, let's just go for a soil risk code of high risk soil. Okay, so I've got these two polygons that are overlapping. If I were to then, when I've come back from the survey, so say I've done my editing, and by the way, the best practice is definitely what we were doing with the OS master map, pre-populate the map with the shapes from Land App and then go and ground truth them. But say I've done some very crude and very bad mapping in this, it was Morocco, but we're now at Clifton Downs, where I've definitely got these overlaps. We have just released a tool for you to clean that up. So you can go onto your Morocco layer, hit toolbox, and then you can call this small gap and overlap cleaner. And what that should do is if I run it, it will then clean that for us. It will turn it into a two-dimensional layer, and it will highlight the bit that is, I guess, overlapping, and it will allow you to dictate whether that is cropland or high-risk soil, or whether you want to leave it as two things. So that takes, I don't know how long to run, 2 seconds, hopefully. Yeah, so clean Morocco. Here we go. So now what I've got is I've got this data layer, he says. Wait, that's not done what I wanted to do. Overlap identify, maybe I used the wrong one. Small gap and overlap cleaner. Maybe it's the other one. Let me test that. Again, that was released just gone, so I'm hoping that works as how I wanted. But in essence, what I'm trying to do is identify where there's messiness. It says overlaps cleaned. Right. So let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. So it's detected the overlap. Yeah, so I've just remembered the workflow. So what we've done is we've ran it through a cleaner. We've identified where the issue is. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to visualize where that is. And then in Land App, you then click on the shape that you want to retain. and then you are then responsible to subtract it. So you choose the one you want to subtract, and that then hole punches it correctly. So you can see now that I haven't got any overlap. So yeah, the flag that we give is just a red line for everywhere that is overlapping. And then we're asking the end user to go and clean it by using the subtract tool, as I just did, which I subtracted, in this case, the crop from the high risk soil. We are working to make that on the fly, that we really want to flag that as needed. And the same with snap to line, which you mentioned. At the moment, you can't snap to line in Land App Mobile, I believe. But let's just quickly test that, because let me just double check. Draw line. Does this snap to it? Not yet. I think that's something they are working on. That's definitely on the list. The snapping? No, there's no snap there at the moment. So yeah, that's something we're working on for Land App Mobile. But just a reminder, that does work in desktop. So if I were to draw a line, I can snap to, so it's snapping to that line now and following exactly where the shapes are. Cool. That's a good bit of feedback. So I think we've got a couple of notes already of what tends to be of people's interests, so we can make a note and bring that to Jack. Okay, I've got a smiley face all done, which looks like we're going to finish on time. So let me just quickly share my other screen again. Cool. These are your questions. So just leaves me to say thank you so much for your time. Really, go have a play with Land App Mobile. It's super fun. There's lots of features still to come, but hopefully this is a step change in where we were before. So you can now take your shapes out, you can start interacting with them, you can start collaborating, building evidence while the sun is shining. So yeah, thank you so much for attending. I'm happy to stick around for 5 minutes. We can stop the recording, and if anyone wants to come off mute and have a conversation, feel free to raise your hand. If not, enjoy your afternoon, and please fill out the survey when you leave. Thank you very much.